More on the situation in Afghanistan after the strikes that were launched from Pakistan's side is Dr. Fazal Mahmood Fazli, who's a former chief advisor to President Ashraf Ghani. Thanks so much, Mr. Fazli, for speaking to Times Now. As someone who's advised former President Ashraf Ghani during a period when Afghanistan accused Pakistan of proxy warfare, how do you interpret Pakistan's 2026 shift to openly declaring war and conducting direct airstrikes on Afghan cities like Kabul and Kandahar?
Well, thank you. First of all, it's a National Mourning Day in Afghanistan, and I express my deepest sympathies and condolences to the families of the victims who have lost their lives due to the heinous and barbaric bombardment committed by this pariah state of Pakistan. As to your question, the pattern has definitely changes. It's more direct and it's less deniable by the Pakistani state. But what we have noticed during the past 5 decades, it's been the same core objective, which is making and keeping Afghanistan weak, unstable, and strategically dependent on Pakistan.
Right. And India strongly condemned these strikes as a violation of Afghan sovereignty. How do you read New Delhi's assertive diplomatic stance in the context of regional geopolitics?
Well, we welcome India's unequivocal condemnation of this pariah state's incursion on Afghan sovereignty. But what we notice is the other regional countries and the so-called international communities purposely silent approach to this Gaza type of incursion by Pakistan establishment. India is a significant power in the region. We hope it uses its diplomatic relation in other parts of the region, namely Russia. Even nowadays they have good relationship with China. Iran has its own issues nowadays, but they also similarly have expressed some concerns about recent retaliation by Pakistani forces.
Right. Now, Pakistan, you rightly mentioned that Pakistan is very rarely acted on TDP within its own territory. However, it's maintaining that its actions are counter-terror operations against TDP militants who are operating from Afghan soil. In your view, can they really sell this narrative of these strikes being purely security-driven? Or do you feel that they reflect a broader strategic objective of Pakistan? Because it's not the first time that they're trying to cross over the Durand line in this particular manner. But of course, certainly the manner in which they've struck Kabul is rather unprecedented.
Well, their excuse is totally baseless and it's fabricated. They have used the same means and excuses during the 80s by producing mujahideen and attacking our villages and by violating our sovereignty. Similar happened during the 90s and after 2001. So it is the same pattern. The core objective is what we noticed a few months ago, the diplomatic engagement between the White House and Rawalpindi. And what it means is there is an attempt going on to reposition Pakistan's position as a strategically indispensable. And chaos is the only mean, and instability is the only mean to provide this new position of Pakistan as a strategically indispensable.
Right.
All excuses about militancy is totally fabricated and baseless.
Right. But, there's a question that would be on many people's minds because, and I'd like to get your assessment on this, because what really has triggered the February 2026 escalation? We've seen strikes in Nangarhar, Paktika and Khost, and now we're seeing retaliatory Afghanistan actions as well. So does this mark a shift from proxy conflict to direct state-to-state confrontation?
Well, there could be so many reasons, but we know that, for example, Pakistan has recently signed a new security agreement with Saudi Arabia. And according to this agreement, Pakistan should provide military support to Saudi if Saudi become under attacks. For example, during the past 16 days, under attacks of Iran. So Pakistan can provide an excuse to Saudi that, look, we are busy with our air power and ground power in Afghanistan, combating so-called terrorism in Afghanistan. So at the moment, we cannot provide any assistance to Saudi. Similar excuse they can provide to their another long-term ally, China. China is frustrated the way the CPEC is going on in Pakistan territory. And because it is sabotaged by Pakistani ally, the United States, through militants like Lashkar-e-Taiba and TTP. So Pakistan can provide an excuse to China that, look, we are busy combating terrorism, so we are also so-called sustaining casualties on our sides. So there are so many different objectives. But the direct retaliation means also that Pakistan is struggling to find proxies, new proxies in Afghanistan, the way they enjoyed during the 80s and 90s.
But within Afghanistan, we've seen strong reactions from public figures. We've seen cricketers and others highlighting civilian suffering. How significant will this be in shaping the international opinion and building pressure on Pakistan, in your view?
Well, anti-Pakistan establishment rhetoric and sentiments is deep-rooted in all across the country, in all walks of lives in Afghanistan, regardless of which type of political establishment holding the power in Afghanistan. So this is not something new. It is from the day one of creation of Pakistan from 1947. So that will shape the new sense of nationalism, Afghan nationalism.
Okay.
We have suffered deeply by the false rhetoric of Ummah created by the Haqqani madrasas in Pakistan and the other militant groups operating within Pakistani territory.
Right. Dr. Fazal Mahmood Fazli, former Chief Advisor to former President Ashraf Ghani, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us here at Times Now.
Thank you.